Welcome to another video review here on our YouTube channel, and as you can see today I'm not reviewing a scope. I'm reviewing a scope mount. Honestly speaking, I believe that this is one part of, I would say, our niche that is a little bit neglected. Also on our YouTube channel, if you look at all the videos, you will see really rarely that we do reviews of scope mounts, and we hope that we'll change this in the future. Why? Because scope mounts are important, and because the world is changing. 10 years ago, gunsmiths were the only people who were really into mounts and mounting of rifle scopes. Now a lot of people are doing this at home by themselves. And I'm starting with Blaser because I believe that they changed this market. They revolutionized the way of thinking, at least in the European side of things, regarding repeatable scope mounts. Because honestly speaking, in the US, majority of scope mounts are affordable, very simple, basic, usually on Weaver bases or Picatinny rails. But in European hunting rifles, the scope mounts are far more delicate, far more advanced. And let's say 20 years ago, you had basically either Soul claw mounts or pivot mounts if you want to have a repeatable mount, detachable repeatable mount. But lately, in the last 20 years, something like that, 15 years, a lot of manufacturers went into the direction that they are producing mounts which go only on their rifles. And they are usually detachable and 100% repeatable. We know this from Mauser M03, we know this from Sauer 303 and 404. We know this from Merkel, all Merkel rifles and so on. And Blaser and Merkel were the first companies, I don't know exactly which one was the first, who started to think, what if we would produce one single mount which would work on all our rifles? So Blaser did this. I think it came out with a Blaser R93, so this is more than 25 years ago. And this mount basically fits on everything what they produce. So it fits on side-by-side S2 when they were still producing it. It fits on their repeating rifles R08. Then it fits on their discontinued R93. It fits on all of their drop barrel combination rifles, BBF rifles and so on. It fits on their single barrel, single drop barrel rifles like Kiplavs in German, K95 and so on. And this is something that is really revolutionary, because I know other manufacturers which, let's say for instance Steyr, who has 20 different mounting solutions for their rifles. Or I mentioned before Sauer. Sauer has one mount for 404. Now the new versions since 2020 of 303 are also having the same mount. It's called the SUM. And then they have EC mounting solution for the older 303 rifles. Then they have Hexalock for their 100 and 101 models and so on. So a lot of different mounts for rifles of the same company. Blaser is here completely different. They have one mounting solution for all their rifles. And I think this is great. I think that everybody else should follow. What can I also say about this rifle? It's made out of steel. It's made in EU. It comes with a 2 years warranty, even though honestly speaking, mounts usually don't fail. They fail if they are not mounted correctly. If something is broken and so on, they fail because of improper installation. They don't fail by themselves, because what can fail with piece of steel, especially such high quality piece of steel. So if you look at the upper part, this one is made for Swarovski scopes with an SR rail, so Swarovski rail solution. There are basically only two manufacturers that are using this standard. It's Kahles and Swarovski. Normally Kahles is owned by Swarovski, and this is the reason why they also use this standard. And you immediately see the scopes with this standard because they have this teeth design, so that this prevents any movement during recoil. You can see there are three pieces that go inside of the rail, and then they are screwed to the base. The instruction manual says that you have to screw them with 3 Newton meters. Usually, I have to say, even if you don't have the torque wrench, even if you do it by feeling, it will work. If you have a little bit of experience, you will not overtight them, and I'm sure that in 99% of cases you will not. It will not happen that you would tie them with a torque value below 3 Newton meters. Usually everybody goes above this. And from my experience, also if you go all the way up to 5 Newton meters, you will not break the system, even though it's correctly is 3 Newton meters. But still, you can do it even without a torque wrench, and if you're a little bit careful, nothing will go wrong. The clamping system on the barrels of Blazers, it's very unique, made completely out of steel. So you put this on the barrel and close it like this, and then lock so it cannot move. What's important to know is that you always have to start with the rear one. So when you put on your barrel the scope with this mount, you start at the rear and then at the front. There shouldn't be any oil anywhere. And when you're adjusting the mount, when you get it out of the packaging, you have to adjust it on the barrel, and you have to have everything in a stand really firmly. Well, the rifle has to be firmly put into the stand, and you need a special screwdriver, a very thin one. We usually use a Wheeler set of screwdrivers which are meant for gunsmithing, because you will damage the screws if you'll not have a proper, really thin and high quality screwdriver. In instructions they say that you have to apply around 5 Newton meters of force here. Again, we are doing it for years on our feeling, and it also works, so you shouldn't over tight them. You always start with the rear and then go to the front towards the target. So you always start with this one, and you will immediately feel when it's set correctly that you need to apply some force when you're closing it. So a little bit of force is needed, then you know that it's set correctly. The mounts are 100% repeatable. I use them myself on my Blaser rifles, and I'm always sure that when I put the scope up and down, it will work, so the zero will not move. And this system is made that you have multiple scopes on one rifle. So you have one scope, let's say, for driven hunts, or red dot for driven hunts. Then you have one scope for mountain stalking, and then you have one scope for low light use, low light hunting. As I mentioned earlier, you're able to get 2 heights of this mount. This is a standard one. You can also get a higher one because of moderators, which are used more and more in Europe. And if you're using any kind of night vision or thermal clip-on attachments on your scope, sometimes you will need a higher position of the scope. Normally, ideally, you would need the lower, as low as possible. But honestly speaking, for hunting and shooting at 100 meters is not really that important. And sometimes it's more important that you are able to put your thermal clip-on your scope than to have it 3 or 5 millimeters lower, the whole scope. If I do a short summary at the end, so these mounts are really high quality, and this way of thinking of Blaser, let's make one mount that fits on all our rifles, I think it's really great. Also, the quality is undisputable. At least in our opinion, these mounts really not problematic. Sometimes if they are not used correctly, you can break this part, but you have to really apply huge force on it so that this part fails due to improper installation. If everything is installed properly, nothing will go wrong. You can be sure about that, and the mount will always return to zero. It's a tried and tested solution. There are really a lot of these mounts outside. A little bit expensive maybe, but you get what you pay for, so you get really good quality. I always use a joke with Blaser mounts that they made one mount to rule them all, because this idea of having one mount which works on a repeating rifle and on your break barrel rifles and everywhere, it's phenomenal. I hope others will follow. So thank you for watching. If I forgot anything in this review, please use comments below. If you have any kind of request for us to do any kind of other review, please also use the comments below or send us an email, and we will try to do our best to film the review which you wish. Thank you. Bye.